You're on.
Hello, welcome to Leestown Side Base Council meeting. It is December the 14th, 2020. Be our last council meeting for the year 2020. So we will start by calling this meeting to order at 5:02. And members, I will read names and just say present if you are present. So Mr. Hoofnagel.
Present.
Ms. Prizgoda.
Present.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
Ms. Wilder.
Present.
Ms. Holt. Ms. Holt is not in attendance as of yet. She may join us in a few minutes, but we do have quorum, so I call the meeting to order at 5:03. And first round of business is just approval of the minutes from the November 9th meeting. So hopefully you got all the materials I sent. There are a lot of attachments today, so sorry about that. We have some things to cover tonight. Looks like we moved a lot of money around in the last meeting. So.
Mr. Miller motions to approve the November agenda as written.
And this is Ronette Wilder, I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes for November 9th have been approved. And then we have tonight's agenda, had an addition under new business, just kind of Csip review, kind of where we're at with the Csip at this point in time. So I didn't have that on last week when I initially sent that. So just look over that, and we would just need an approval with the addition of Csip tonight.
This is Ronette Wilder. I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight with the added Csip. Price go to second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we approved the agenda for tonight, December 14th. Don't think we have any public comment. Mr. Collins, any comment?
No comment.
Okay. Good news report. Just wanted to make sure I got all the names right, so I went ahead and copy and pasted in the agenda. So Ms. Mickens can have this for the minutes. But congratulations to our cross country team, especially Josh Arnett, who was recognized last week as a top 10 middle school cross country runner, which is a very big honor because we have lots of cross country runners in this very large district. Also, congratulations go out to Stephen Tackett, Max McGee, Laura Weddington, who are also given honorable mentions, and the team members there on this, that should be down on the Quizbo team. So, but congratulations to those cross country runners. And then also FFA last week had middle school quiz bowl on Zoom. Team placed second in the region, and Safi Landor was a high scoring individual out of all students competing. So team members actually are above there: Safi Landor, Evelyn Lopez, and Jalen Ayers. So congratulations cross country and FFA. And then this is kind of getting close to the time where special programs start they're sending out their acceptance letters. And Locust Trace sent out some early acceptance letters. And we had 15 students that received early acceptance to Locust Trace, and that was the most out of any of the middle schools. So congratulations to Gustavo Berrigan, Emily Boggs, Megan Burke, Brian Cruz, Marquise Ferguson, Antonio Fry, Caitlin Holefield, Kirsten Kelly, Jamonte Lamb, Carlos Melton, Whitney Rivard, Taylor Shear, Addison Sloan, Ani Sutherland, and Haley Trowell for their early acceptance into the Locust Trace program. Now, we'll probably hopefully end up getting more into Locust Trace this year, but these were accepted early. And then what they do is they look at their numbers again in the spring, and most times have some additional openings. So very good news for that. So that's what I had. Anybody have anything else as far as good news? We're ending the semester.
2020 is almost over.
Yeah, I know. That is 4 days left in this 2020 semester, so I guess anything could happen though. So
I just gotta say again, our kids are just pretty awesome, and I think as a school we've really come a long way since the spring. It's night and day. So I give everybody, all administrators and parents and teachers and kids, a lot of credit.
yeah, I agree, Seth. I kind of mentioned that in the parent newsletter as well. It basically took all of us working together, just like you said, faculty, students, parents, and families, and we kind of pulled it together. And we made an online school a school in a tough situation. So, and then I think we had the student participation report that I got from the district a couple weeks ago, and it has over 95% in terms of student participation. So that's actually pretty good. So I'll take that. I'll take that when we're in school and have live in-person instruction. So, but well said, Seth. All right, if nothing else, then we can go ahead and move to budget updates. And I just sent those budgets in the email. We got school activity funds, it's kind of the ledger sheet, and then the munis report. You'll see that we kind of moved the money into those codes last time. And we'll just kind of go first school activity funds, take any questions that you have on the ledger report there. Not a lot of those accounts have moved very much just because not a lot going on. And since then, remember, we have pushed pause on athletics. So there are several games that have been postponed. So athletic concession or athletic budgets as far as girls basketball kind of stayed where it was at probably since we last reviewed it. So. If no questions about school activity funds, then we'll just kind of do the same with the munis report right now. Again, hasn't moved very much. I think we did get a copier rental fee. It's probably the biggest thing that we had to pay for. It's just kind of some odds and ends coming out of section 6. Both of those are large numbers to try to spend in just a few months. So, but I have faith that we can spend it. So. And then on page, I think 3 is, it says supplemental duty. That's not money that we really, that's money that the district gives to us to pay out our supplemental duty positions. And that money, those positions are mostly already put in the system. And when it's their seats, and that's when you'll see that those totals start to go down as it's paid out to those sponsors. So any questions about budgets? All right. So move on to staffing. We still have one position out there at this one time, and I'm kind of holding off on doing anything with that till we see what's going to happen in terms of in-person learning going forward. We do know that we do have 2 staff members that will not return if we return any time for in-person. And the district has told us now that we would have to, they're not going to pay a sub for those positions. So we'll have to find a way to cover those 2 positions. But luckily we do have this one position out there that we haven't filled right now. So if it looks like we're coming back soon to in person, because we've waited until the middle of the year, that one position now can be 2 positions. Because we haven't paid out first semester for it, so I can actually hire 2 individuals, which will help us deliver that in-person instruction during the day. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what the board decides tonight and how quickly we will see in-person learning, just to go forward with that. So what questions do we have about that staffing scenario I just mentioned?
Well, this is Ms. Louder. So when would you actually start looking for those people, in January, or would you wait till after we actually get back into the classroom?
I started looking for them about 2 months ago. So I do have the positions advertised right now. So the group, remember we did interview 2 people. One didn't work out because of certification, and one had taken an elementary job. So I think the posting's closed a few days ago, but I talked to my budget person today to reopen those positions. So what I'm hoping for now, Ms. Wilder, is that we got some graduations coming up. So maybe there's some teachers out there that are graduating, or maybe we've got some teachers that have recently retired and maybe comfortable with coming back in and doing something in person. So they're just hard to find right now. So that's a good question. Any other questions about the staffing scenario? All right. I can't really see you guys either. Got this big microphone in the way. Okay, so it takes us to new business. And the big thing is the in-person and remote learning plan. So what we've been doing, and it's taken a lot of work, is to go through and try to figure out the best scenarios possible for servicing students in the building, as well as continuing to offer a program for students that will stay remote. So we had a lot of luck with the student registration, and even some parents that did not have an active email and did not get to register that way. District was very supportive and helped call those parents, so we got a hold of all of those that showed up in their system without an email. So we're looking around 844 students to be coming back into the building, about 200 students that will stay on remote learning. So that's a large group of students that will be coming in to the building, and we will have to make sure that we are able to do everything that we possibly can for those students in terms of the healthy at school check guidelines and following all those safety to measures. So and actually 844, that's bigger than our school was probably 4 years ago, I guess. So so it's a lot of students coming back on a daily basis, but that's also a lot of students staying home and working through remote learning. So some feedback that I've heard from parents as they were filling out the registration form, most parents that were choosing the in-person or the remote learning, they were very comfortable with the schedule that they had and the teachers that their students have, and they did not want to lose that connection with the teachers that they have. But it's impossible for us to build a schedule where that they would Zoom with those teachers and stay on that distance learning schedule, because those teachers will be in-person learning. So we wanted to service in person, And then also if we had school closures for COVID, then that we could move back to the distance learning schedule without disrupting everything. We didn't want a situation where we would have to reschedule every student in the building and give students new schedules and teachers new rosters. We wanted to kind of keep the team concept alive like we have, because it's very important to us, especially when we are here on a daily basis. So developing a plan, basically, we had to do we wanted to do a plan that kept all those goals in mind. So the plans always start with a schedule. So we went through several different schedules, and team leads were very influential in us kind of picking a right schedule that would be right for everybody. We had initially had a schedule that had 7 classes, and the classes were a lot shorter. But after team leads were able to give their feedback, they talked about the importance of maybe doing kind of a block schedule and a schedule that would look very similar to what a remote learning schedule looks like. So that's the first thing I want to kind of show tonight and get some feedback on. And I'm going to let Miss Meekins, who is our schedule master, kind of talk through that. Let me pull this up here. Hold on just one second. Stop sharing. Share screen.
Well, I'll just start off and kind of reiterate what Mr. Gibson said. We took the feedback we had a schedule ad hoc committee who created lots and lots of schedules. And then it looks like we have to create one more schedule. So scheduling just happens all the time. But we took something to the team leads and thought, oh, we had something there. And then they provided feedback for us to keep it similar to the block schedule. I'm not sure where that's at. It's called 2021. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, there it is.
So
And I
keeping
sent
it
this to everybody too, so.
Yeah, can you go down to the second page?
Mhm.
That might be the easiest to see it. Because that's by grade level. Keep going. There you go. Yeah, so similar to what we're doing now, teachers will have, there will be 4 classes for each student a day. The class periods are a little longer. They're about 75 to 80 minutes. We do have the 10-minute transition time to help us going from class to class. When students head to elective classes, similar to the elementary model, the elective teachers will go to the hallway and pick the students up and take them to their classes. So that's not going to have all the kids in the hallway at one time, because even with 800 students, there'll still be about 250-ish, going from the team area to the elective area. Okay. So any thoughts or questions? That's the one we showed. All I did there, Mr. Miller, I see you looking there, was take it, it was just saying 6th, 7th, and 8th, so I just spread it out for you to be able to see what we're doing now. So first period, second period, third period, and just kind of going down so you see which classes you would see each day. It's similar to what we're doing now, like the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But this is 2 days in a row. And ignore the A day, B day. I'm sorry, I corrected that on a later version. So it's like A1, A2, then B1, B2. It just repeats itself.
And we're still working through some of the lunch scenarios. We kind of talked through 3 different ones this morning. We're trying to make lunch as close to what we've done in the past as possible. And it's not going to be exactly that way. So we're just kind of playing with the times there and doing some other things, but we hope to have that within the next couple of days.
Yeah, so I met with Reed this morning about that, and, we have to keep in mind the hours of his staff members and, the hours that school has been pushed back about 15 minutes. We start 15 minutes later and we end 15 minutes later, but we also have to take into consideration what time his staff comes in, and he knows he'll have to push them back, and how many hours they can work a day. Because, there was one version where the last lunch ended at 2:30. And we talked about that. And we were like, yeah, it's a little late for kids. And so we have 3 versions of that. So I think we've narrowed it down, and we're going to talk again tomorrow.
Mr. Gibson, is the the lunch protocol we talked about, where the kids all just sit next to each other and have to keep their masks on as much as possible, still the plan, or?
Yeah, there's not, originally our guidelines had like only 75 max in the lunchroom, but they have changed their tune on that. The health department basically said, the important thing is to, if they're in the lunchroom, to limit the movement in the lunchroom, and we do that anyway. To assign tables, we do that anyway, and that they would need assigned seats. So we don't have assigned seats, but we would do that for the contact tracing. They said that, and if you do that, then lunchrooms can be lunchrooms basically. So we don't have to have them facing the same way like we originally thought. Students can be apart across from one another. We just have to be able to contact trace. So that's why it's important that we have the assigned seatings and we know who's at what table. So.
And
So
Mr.
Oh, sorry. No, so basically, if the idea is that if a kid's sitting in the middle of the table and they're positive, then what, like 6 kids in all directions are going to be quarantined? Is that, but we know who they are and we know that we can trace them through the day? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and if that happens, then because they would be with that class anyway in the classroom, they're going to be quarantined anyway. So, because they're not going to go to lunch with somebody different than they're sitting in the classroom with. So.
Because you have so many people, even though we'd be wearing masks in the classroom, you'd still probably have to be quarantined anyway, right?
Yeah, because the quarantine doesn't specify that you're unmasked. If you're masked up and you're within 15 or within 6 feet for 15 minutes, then you will be quarantined. So unless that guidance changes, that's what we've been told. So.
Thank you. I'm just clarifying.
Yep.
Right.
So any other questions or comments about the schedule? Ms. Watt?
I was just looking at the long classes.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all gonna give them a chance to get up so they can at least
Yeah. That's a good.
focus? Because I know after a while, even as an adult, it's hard to focus.
Yeah, that's a good question. We've had block scheduling before, and that was some things that we struggled with. But the transition's going to take a little bit longer because after each class, we got to clean that class. Got to come in there and spray it and wipe it down. So it's going to be a little bit more on the transition coming in to each class. So that's going to eat up some time. Also, the morning and the afternoon is probably going to be. It's going to take us longer to get kids in the building than before, and it's going to take us longer to get kids out of the building. So we think that just some of the guidelines will eat up some of that time, but go
And
ahead.
Ms. Wilder, during those classes, we do realize we're not gonna have, students just sit and listen to a lecture for 75 minutes. The teachers know, and Mr. Gibson, stresses some of that, you talk for so long, and then you need to have the kids interact, maybe just talking to someone next to you or doing things, but it will not be a 70-minute lecture. It won't be a 70-minute study hall by any means.
Well, they're gonna be happy just to be looking at each other and so.
And you can see.
But Ms. Wilder, we do have to keep them close to their assigned seat just for all the rules Mr. Gibson talked about. So there's
I know.
balance there with stuff. But I was gonna say, I have a lot of friends that have in other states that teach, and they've been in schedules kind of like this, and they said they'd spend half of the day probably doing protocols and management and cleaning and stuff. So it was important that we had extra time and to try to get at least a decent chunk of teaching time in the day. So
That's understandable. It's just, I just,
Yeah, that's
It's a
a,
lot.
that's a concern that we always have with less classes. You can see in there that mindfulness that Ms. Meekins has put in there, different, spots. Do you want to kind of talk about your thought for that, Ms. Meekins?
Yeah, so even with those long classes, Ms. Wilder, when the kids have to transition to something else, you see a lot of the research and stuff on the mindfulness, kind of getting them ready for the next class. And so it can be activities that we do. The teachers can break it up kind of in the middle of the class. We just put it at the beginning of the class just to say, okay, you're no longer in science or social studies or whatever it may be. But we're going to try and find some things to kind of get our kids centered, grounded, whatever it may be to help them with that. And then there's a break a little bit there that's usually attached to the lunchtime that will help also if, with the hand washing, different things there, if they need to do that before and after the restroom break. And then the outro at the end of the day is because they only have half the classes, the teachers will kind of show, okay, here's the homework for the day. Remember, you won't have this class again until 2 days from now. So we're going to try and have things in there to set the kids up for success because, they're still middle school kids and they're not going to remember, what did we do at 9:30? What are we supposed to do?
Right. But this is a lot on the teachers too. I'm looking at it. This is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It is, and when Mr. Gibson tells you about our remote plan, how that works, I agree. I think it is a lot on the teachers.
It's a lot on. It's a lot on the teachers because the teachers are the ones that's gonna have to clean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
we'll help out, but.
Every seat, every chair.
So you won't be. It's a lot. It's just a lot for. Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna be a lot.
I know one of the things that we talked about a lot was in order to keep this schedule as close to the remote learning schedule as possible was what we do with Wednesday. And I can see that one of the things is going to the AB day and another one is having first period every day with mentor groups on B days, I guess. Can you talk more about the mentor group times and the first period every day?
So what it is similar to what's going on now. We have first period every day. You see like SEL is on the second, like that Tuesday, A2 and B2. So like I said at the beginning, ignore AB. I messed up there. It's correct on another one. So 6th grade, it's like A day part 1, A day part 2, because it takes you 2 days to see all the classes. And so this kind of came up last night when I was working through the lunch, and I was like, oh goodness. So we don't have a solid plan, Ms. Price Goda, but what we can look at is that second day, A2 and B2 of first hour. How can we get the kids what they need, some mentor time? They still start off with their first period teacher, but if there's time, because that's kind of built into the day for us to give kids what they need. I don't have the exact answer of what it's going to look like or how the mentor groups would look because, we do want to still limit some of the movement and not be everywhere across the building. So that might be something we discuss on Friday at Team Lead as well.
And then SEL, we don't need every day for SEL. We just kind of have it put in there. But I think we're about 15, 16 lessons from finishing that up. So.
But that time does allow for that entrance of kids, to get everybody through the temperature scanners, get them where they need to move and this and that. Because if we start school at 9:15 and we still have kids trickling in at 9:25, that's going to be very frustrating. So we have that little kind of 15-minute buffer to make sure all the buses are here on time, to make sure everyone gets through. Because during targeted assistance, how many kids did we have about, Mr. Gibson?
I think we were anywhere from 58 to 68. Maybe we may have even hit 70 there one day.
So that took us a while to get kids through. So we can only imagine with 800 how long it's going to take. And don't forget they get to stop for breakfast as well.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of not officially start first hour until a little later. But Ms. Price, if you have ideas and suggestions, we are open to those for how that second part of, A2 or B2 would look.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask about breakfast. So they're gonna bring breakfast to the room, take their masks off, and sit next to somebody and eat for 20 minutes in the room with all of us.
Yep. Everybody's doing the grab and go at this point as well. That was another thing the health department had said, well, you know, that's if you're doing that, then lunch rooms, there's no reason to really have less than 75 or 75 max in the lunchroom. So, but yes, that will happen. So they will be unmasked for that time while they're eating breakfast. Any other questions? All right, so you know, this kind of schedule, like we said, kind of gives us that flexibility that, you know, it doesn't look exactly like what our distance learning schedule is, but it's close enough that we don't feel like it would throw kids off that much. You know, their teachers will be the same in person as they had in distance learning. And if we have to shut down, this would give us some flexibility that we could transition to our distance learning schedule in an easy enough situation. So, you know, it does limit the transition, and it kind of helps us contact trace. That's going to be a major part of this if we come back in person really soon at any time, is contact tracing. So that's going to be a very, very important part. So, and this, you know, kind of this plan kind of keeps our teams intact, and our students have made that connection with their teachers, and you know, it doesn't require us rescheduling them to another team, another teacher. So it's also
So
questions. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So this is Ms. Wire. So if we go in person and then they say we have to go to online, will they keep the teachers they had in person?
Yep.
Or will they get, okay.
Yep. This keeps it for everybody. So.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. What's the expectation if a teacher has COVID and they're out? Are they expecting teachers to teach all their classes, or how does that go? Just
We'd have to get a sub for that teacher. You know, the sub will have to be responsible for teaching those classes, and we would have to see how we're going to manage that through the Canvas part. So, not gotten to that point yet, but that will be a real issue at some point. So. Any other questions?
So is this for discussion or do we need a motion?
Yeah, let me, before we can kind of do both of these together, Lynn, I'm going to show you just kind of what the in-person, okay. All right, so, so this is just kind of the instructional plan, so this kind of goes along with it, and just really quickly, our in-person instructional plan does just what I just said, you know, kind of grade level appropriate instruction for all students, keeps the students on their team, minimizes disruption to our master schedule, keeps our teams in place, provides us that consistency that we're looking for, which is one of the most important parts to you know, navigating through a tough situation like ours, is that we stay consistent. So the remote instructional plan, so students that aren't in school in person, then they will be on the remote plan. So they will be learning through asynchronous instruction. So they will keep their same classes, keep their same teachers. They just will not be Zooming every class period like they were before. They will go to that Canvas page and navigate to that Canvas page. They will be responsible for the work that's put on the Canvas page. And we will have teacher facilitators that will serve in as check and connect points for each one of those grade levels. So if I'm in 6th grade and I'm working remotely at home, Mr. Collins is my first hour teacher. I'm going to his Canvas page. I'm doing my work on the Canvas page. If there's video there, we're going to try to put those kids maybe at least a day behind regular instruction. We've not thought through that part yet, but so they can access the video that teachers have used for kids that are absent. That could be one resource they use, but their main resource would be the teacher facilitator. So if I'm working on Mr. Collins' work, I'm not sure what to do, then I know who to contact, which would be maybe Miss Meekins as my 6th grade facilitator. I would get in touch with Miss Meekins and she would kind of help me with the issues. She would be in touch with the science teacher so that she knows how what to do with the work. She may not be a science teacher, but she's going to help that person do their work. So basically it's working through their schedule in an asynchronous way, still being responsible for that work, still staying on that teacher's roster. So if we get in a situation where we get February and kids are allowed to start coming back to school, maybe it's a situation where COVID cases start to decrease, then I come back in school, then I don't have to be rescheduled for anything. I just go ahead and follow my same group of teachers in a live situation in person. So no, it's not the perfect way to handle this scenario, but that does keep some consistency with those students as well. We've just got to make sure that we're prepared with our teacher facilitators that we're using to make sure we have checkpoints throughout the day, make sure we're getting them the help that they need, and making sure that those teacher facilitators are taking care of those students, and that doesn't fall back on their teacher of record. So, any questions about that plan? So again, it's not the perfect scenario, but I do think it's one that will work in a pandemic, right? So,
It's a good place to start.
yeah. And so if there's no questions, then we can approve both of these together, and that would just be approving our in-person and remote instruction plan.
Will it still be able to be tweaked, or this is the final that's going to be the plan of record?
Yes, no, you're exactly right. This is a living, breathing document. So it will be tweaked probably a million times before the end of the week. But basically what we're proving is just the overall structure of our plan. The schedule is the big thing that needs to be approved, but I do think because one of the site bases major roles is the instructional plan for the school. So this is kind of our motto of instruction. So that's why I wanted to throw that in there as well. So.
And this would only be while some students are still at home, or this is the plan for when we return for the rest of the year?
Yes, it would be the plan for as long as we're having to provide a remote and in-person model.
I make a motion that we accept this plan as presented.
Booknagel, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, so we have approved the structure of our in-person and remote learning plan and schedule. I know people were asking about the board meeting tonight. It starts at 6. I put 5:30 in the parent newsletter, or staff newsletter, but I was wrong. All right.
Well, at least I know I got it from somewhere. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was me. Okay,
Better to undershoot, right, than overshoot.
that's right. All right, CSIP. Now, this is our school improvement plan, and it's a big part of what we do every year. And what school improvement plan, what you do is you take your assessment data from the year before, and you kind of analyze that data, and you see where you need to improve, and you work. The admin team kind of works together to carve the way instructionally that we want to go, and basically you write goals and objectives based on your scores from the previous year. Now, we did not test last year, so CSIP hasn't been that involved as it normally is, because the guidance from the state is that you take your plan that you had last year, because that was a plan kind of guiding us up to last year's assessment, and basically you do the new goals and objectives, because the state basically 10 years out they're giving you those goal checkpoints, and you just kind of update that. And what we had to do is we had to put our targeted assistance plan in, which that's been canceled now, but that was a requirement that we added it to our CSIP. So basically, this is pretty much the same structure, the same CSIP that we had last year, with just the dates and some of those goals and objectives changed. So you have to have a proficiency goal. You have to have a separate academic indicator. Proficiency goal is your reading and math. Separate academic indicator is your social studies and writing. And I'll come back and go through those. And then you have to have an achievement gap goal, and then a growth goal. Okay, and the growth goal comes from math. So basically, these strategies and activities are kind of what we had put in place last year, and we would be continuing. The lot of thing is that we're continuing these strategies and activities, especially when we get back to in-person learning, to hope to achieve these goals for statewide testing. Now, right now there hasn't been a waiver for testing that's been offered to states. So as of right now, we would be testing in May, but Department of Education is kind of changing over, or probably will be changing over. So it could be that we're offered that waiver again and will not be testing this year. If that's the case, then this CSIP just kind of goes away, and then we kind of start rewriting it for next year. And then there's still some speculation about how much our state assessment is going to change for the future anyway. So I can go.
Sorry, Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
will you repeat again the goals? There's the proficiency goal, the growth goal.
We got proficiency goal, which is reading and math. Separate academic indicator, which is social studies and writing. You got your achievement gap goal, and then you've got your growth goal. So,
Thank you.
and so you can see the proficiency goal says that we would have a combined score of, we would move from 56.2 to 66.2 by May 2022. And then those are the strategies and activities that we would implement school-wide. And these are things that we already do school-wide, okay? School-wide literacy programs, the release days, ELA days, and math days that the district provides for us, which some of those have been on hold recently. So a lot of this document is driven by the CDIP, which is CSIP is what schools do, the CDIP is what districts do. So they push a lot of those strategies and activities down to us from the CDIP. So I can come back to any of this that you want to see again. Our separate academic indicator, that's our social studies and writing. And science. 30 to 40%, 54 to 64, 28 to 38. So, and some of those are just, again, you'll see certain our literacy initiatives through there, some specific science related activities, as well as social studies, our PLCs. The way we use our data protocols and our PLC meetings are all in that.
So do we motion for this one as well?
Anybody have any questions? We can go far and deep into CSIP, but like I said, this is pretty much what we had last year because we did not test last year, and it's kind of a plan that we just update and continue. So we would need a motion, yes.
I think it looks amazing, and I'd like to motion to accept the CSIP as written.
Okay.
That's
All
Miller.
right, Skoda with the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, CSIP has passed. All right, and do we have field trips or professional learning requests or?
There are none at this time, no field
Fun,
trips,
right?
no PD. I'm sorry, Lynn.
I have the field trip request.
Oh, but me too, I'm sorry.
Yes, I do too.
I'm sorry, I do as well.
Well, if nothing else, then we would just need a motion to adjourn.
Can we get items for January 1st, please?
Oh, let's see. I thought I'd written down some, but I don't have anything at this point in time.
Okay, no worries,
But we will have items.
I'm sure. All right, I'm ready for whoever wants to motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I second. This is Miss Louder.
All right, 5:50. Let's go watch that board meeting and we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will.
Right?
3, 2, 1, and.
Thanks, guys.